Duh, I had the mic muted because, like I said, of course you couldn't hear me when I said it, but I was reconfiguring some stuff before the show and I forgot to turn my mic back on, so now hopefully it's working. And I think everybody else, or everything else, should be working too. Alright, cool. Jake, where the hell are you? Anyway, alright, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Third Eye Heavy Collector's Corner. This is my new video streaming, music fan video streaming thing I'm doing. My name is Sid, and I am a student in the Media Studies radio program at Iowa Western Community College in Council Bluffs. I graduate in May this year with an associate's degree, and this is part of my activities for my broadcasting and streaming online class, and hoping it turns out good. It'll be something that can go in my portfolio as well, and in case you're interested in seeing my portfolio, there it is. There's the link, sbmportfolio.net. So write that down, commit it to memory, visit it once a week if you want to see new stuff. There's a blog on there. There's some examples of work and everything, so it's a little bit of shameless self-promotion that we all need to do from time to time. Whoops. Alright, so what's the point of this stream? Well, the point of this stream is, like I said, I need to do something for class for my portfolio, but in reality, what I want to do is show off some of the cool stuff that I've collected over the years. I'm a music nut, I'm a music history nut, so not only do I, when I hear a band I like, have to listen to their music, collect all their albums, I got to dig into the history, I got to read books about them, I got to find out who played with who and on what album and everything like that. I just have to keep absorbing and absorbing. There's a bottomless pit there I'm trying to fill. And so what's cool about box sets? Box sets are going to comprise the majority of what we're going to talk about on this stream, and what's cool about those? Well, a lot of times, from a music perspective, if a band puts out a box set that's either a collection of some previously released material or maybe a box set commemorating a specific album, most of the time there's going to be something bonus that comes along with it in order to entice you to buy it. So a lot of times there will be live versions of songs, maybe some stuff with some extended jams in it. A lot of times there will be some unreleased songs that you have never heard before. Maybe the band recorded and decided not to put out at the time they were putting out the album that they were recording. There may be enhanced artwork, liner notes, a booklet, and of course a lot of times these things are limited edition as well, so they're rare and not a lot of people own them. They may be a limited edition of 300 or 1,000. A lot of record store day stuff is 1,000. And, if we're talking about a radio show, a lot of times those are just printed up for distribution to radio stations, so there may be like 250, maybe even less of those in the world, especially since with radio shows, a lot of the stations were always instructed to destroy those when they were done with them, and a lot of them didn't, which is how a lot of them show up on eBay, and on my back wall here, as you can see. But I digress. So that's what's cool about this stuff, or what I think's cool about this stuff. And so on my right, well, my left, probably your left too, hopefully you can see the show format we're going to run down. So I've got my little monologue, which I just got done doing, a little bit of newsy stuff to talk about some box sets that are coming out and other cool stuff that are coming out in the future that you may want to check out. Then we'll get into our feature artist. I'll talk a little bit about them. We'll go over the box sets that I have that I've collected, and then our special little radio nerd feature. I have a podcast. It's called the Radio Nerd Podcast, and so again, a lot of what you see on the back wall there is radio shows, and so I've added a little feature in here to coordinate with the feature artist of the show So we'll get into that a little later here, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next time at the end. So let's get started. Alright, so I just did my monologue. So we're going to do box set news. Alright, so who's got something coming up? There's a couple of new things coming out, or at least in the works anyway. One of them's coming out pretty soon, and the other one is just in the works, so there's no date for that one yet. So the one that's out, or coming out, it's been put together and coming out, is Linkin Park. They have a new commemorative edition of their second album coming out. So the album is called Meteora. It came out in 2003, so like I said, this is the 20th anniversary. It was their second album. Linkin Park was quote-unquote new metal band. If you know anything about new metal, it's like metal mixed in with hip-hop, kind of a fusion of styles there, and was big back in the 90s and the 2000s. It's not so huge of a genre anymore. Some of the bands are still playing around and stuff like that. Linkin Park formed in 1996 and put out their first album, Hybrid Theory, in 2000. And then, of course, like I said, 2003 came the second album, Meteora. Lead singer Chester Bennington passed away in 2017, so if you're wondering if they're ever going to put out any more new music and interviews, guitarist Mike Shinoda pretty much says that they don't really ever talk about that. So it's kind of like the band is sort of still a thing, but they're not, they're not really, it's kind of hard for them, I think, to try to figure out if they want to do something new, because a lot of time replacing a lead singer sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't. So that's a really tough thing to do for any band. This Meteora box set here comes out on April 7th, and I want to point out that there's a bunch of different versions. There's a Super Deluxe box, there's a 4 LP Deluxe Vinyl box that's coming out as well with that. There's a 3-disc Deluxe CD version, there's also a digital version, and the features vary between versions, so if you're looking for something specific, you want to look over all the contents of those, and you can find more details at linkinpark.com/Meteora20. And included in this box set is going to be some unreleased songs, and in fact the band just put out one of the unreleased songs from these sessions for Meteora. It's on YouTube now. The song is called Lost, and I don't remember exactly, but I was flipping through the music news today, and I think that's on the Billboard chart, so it's getting pretty popular. There's also going to be some demos, some B-sides, stuff from live shows, and one of the versions of the commemorative package, I forget which, but one of them has a DVD also with some behind-the-scenes footage as well, so that's pretty cool. And like I said, you can get more details at linkinpark.com/Meteora20. Alright, the next one that I want to talk about is Metallica. They are working on box sets for their Load and Reload albums. There's the Load album, there's the Reload album. And so Metallica, if you haven't heard of Metallica, they're a heavy metal band, thrash metal. Formed in 1981, put out their first album, Kill 'Em All, back in 1983. And at that time they were still pretty underground. I found out about them through word of mouth, the underground zines, fanzines, and things like that. Eventually they started showing up in national magazines, and then in, let's see, 1991, yeah, they put out their big album, the Black Album, self-titled, contained the hits Enter Sandman and The Unforgiven. The album they put out before that, And Justice for All, was pretty popular too. In fact, I think for that tour they played the Civic Auditorium in Omaha, but the one that really broke, I guess that one put them on the map nationally, and then the one that broke them on radio everywhere was the Black Album. So they did put out a box set for that one back in 2021, and like I said, now they are said to be working on box sets for these two albums. Load came out in 1996, contains the hits Until It Sleeps and King Nothing, among others, and then Reload came out in 97, and that one features songs like Fuel and The Memory Remains, which featured folk singer Mary Ann Faithfull. She was big back in the 60s, I think. So that is what I've got for box set news. So if you've got anything you want me to cover in a future episode, then let me know in the comments, and we will go from there and check it out. Alright, that's it. Like I said, that's it for box set news. Let's go to our feature artist here, which, if you were here for the opening screen, or you can otherwise see on the right side, there we go, Allman Brothers. So we've got three things we're going to go over today. Allman Brothers Dreams box set. This one may be kind of hard to read, but it's Sky Dog, the Duane Allman box. Duane Allman was the guitar player for the Allman Brothers, and then down here is this little thing that we're going to do for the Radio Nerd feature. It's called Duane Allman Dialogues. So that's what I got in store for you here. Alright, so the Allman Brothers. Who are the Allman Brothers? If you know who they are, great. I appreciate that. If you don't, I'll give you a little bit of info about them. Allman Brothers they're called the Southern Rock Band, but they really incorporated a lot of blues and even jazz styles into their music, as well as rock. So I guess if you were looking for a definition of Southern rock, that might be a good one. Not all Southern rock bands incorporate jazzy stuff, but there are a variety of styles within Southern rock, like Marshall Tucker Band has some jazzy influences too, and a flute player and stuff like that. But Allman Brothers really, at the end of the day, transcended pretty much any genre related to rock and roll, as you can think about it. You know, they incorporated blues, they incorporated jazz. There's a lot of other subgenres that they incorporated as well. Just straight ahead rock, great guitar playing, and in fact, their singer Greg Allman a lot of times has been called the greatest white blues singer ever to live. So that tells you how much they loved the blues and incorporated that into their music. The band formed in 1969 in Jacksonville, Florida. The main members were Greg Allman, singer and keyboards. Duane Allman was the guitarist. Dickie Betts on guitar. Barry Oakley on bass. Butch Trucks on drums. And still to this day, for some reason, you can kick me if you want to next time you see me, don't know exactly how to pronounce this guy's name, but they had two drummers. That's another thing that made them unique. And I want to say it's Hi Johani J Mo Johansson, or J Johani J Mo Johansson. And if you really want to know how that's spelled, you can look that up, or I'll type it out for you next time. I don't have it ready here. And then, so they were together from 1969 all the way up until somewhere in the 2000s. And so a couple guys died along the way, a couple guys died early on, as a matter of fact, and then they broke up once, got back together, lineup changes and stuff like that, so I don't have time to go through all that here, but other notable members included Chuck LaBelle on keyboards. Warren Haynes played guitar with him for a while. He's big now, got his own thing going on with Government Mule. And Derek Trucks of the Tedeschi Trucks Band, who is out now, that he played for him a little while. I think he was still a kid when he played for him. So they have some songs you may know: Ramblin' Man, Midnight Rider, Melissa, Jessica, Blue Sky, and Ain't Wasting Time No More. Those are a lot of my favorites. So if you're around me and I'm playing Southern rock, that is probably what you're going to hear. And Feel free as I go along to ask, make comments or ask questions on anything I'm showing off here, and we will go from there. Alright, the box sets. So, here we go. As you can see, this is the Dreams box set. I don't know if the wording totally shows up on there. Haven't mastered my camera angles yet here, but you can kind of see it. So it's here's on the back with a little mushroom in the middle there, and this is kind of what it looks like from the outside. I bought this on eBay. Well, it was either eBay or Discogs, sealed. This thing came out in 1989. So 99, 2009, sure, it was over 30 years old, still sealed, which is probably a rarity. If you're interested in looking for these things, you can find used ones, but finding a sealed one, that's what I like to go for when I'm collecting stuff, because a lot of times you never know what you're going to get with a used copy. But I was lucky enough to find this, and actually the other one that I'm going to show off today, I was lucky enough to find both of those sealed copies still around. This one came out in 1989. There were two versions, a 6 LP version or a 4 CD one, and most of the time if it's just general stuff, I listen to stuff on CD. I'm not a vinyl fanatic, despite the fact that you can see that's only a small portion of the records I have. Most of the records I have are radio shows. I don't have a whole lot of vinyl of just regular releases per se, unless it's something special like a radio show or a live thing. But this is the Dreams box set. I'm going to bust this open for you here. It's got 55 digitally remastered songs, over 5 hours of music, almost 2 hours of unreleased and rare recordings. It's got a 34-page booklet, which is really cool, with photos, an essay, and detailed recording information. It includes music from the Allman Brothers as well as other bands that the guys were in. There were like 3 or 4 bands that some of the guys were in before then, and that's, so we're talking mid-60s. It's kind of like psychedelic acid rock. They hadn't really gotten big into the bluesy rock sound yet when they were in those earlier bands, but you can kind of, if you listen to it, you can kind of hear the beginnings of all that, so that's kind of cool. And this box set was released to coincide with the 1989 reformation. That was, like I said, the band broke up once or twice. That was one of the times, so they got back together in '89, put out this box set to let everybody know they were back. So here's kind of what the CDs look like. They've got the special cover there. I've got reflections going on the CD cover, which kind of bums me out, so I'm going to have to try to fix that for next time. But that's what they look like, kind of on the inside there. Pretty cool, huh? And then we've got the booklet. So as you can see, there's quite a few pages in here. It's 32 pages on the inside. And like I said, so there's some cool photos in there. Text. There's pictures, some pictures of when the guys were in their earlier bands. Here's an example. Let's see who is on that one. So this is like an old show flyer, which is really cool for people like me who came along to the band later. I wasn't, I don't see that it says what year it is from on there, but that's really cool because, seeing a show flyer from before I was born. This is Buffalo Springfield and Hourglass, which is one of the bands that some of the guys were in before the Allman Brothers. So that's really cool. There's another one with Hourglass. More pictures. More text. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff in here. So, you know, if you're a fan of the band, you could probably get this box set, sit here, and like I said, it's got 5 hours of music on it, and it could take you a while to read through this. So you could sit there and, you know, spend a couple hours on a Friday night with a glass of wine or whiskey, whatever you prefer, and just check this out, dig into it, listen to it, and you can do that more than once. You know, you listen to it, you go through the whole thing. 6 months later, you're looking for something to do. Well, your mind's probably fresh. You can sit down and spend another evening with the Allman Brothers Dreams box set. So, "33 years, right on." I'm not sure. It looks like Molly's on there, and she gave me a little face, but I can't really make out what it looks like. I can't tell if you're bored or if you think this is really cool or what. But I'm going to assume for a minute that you might be a little bored. I can fix that though. The next time I see you, I'll play you some Allman Brothers, and then you'll be like, "Oh, that's why it's cool." So we'll fix that. Alright, how am I doing on time here? Alright. Alright, so the next one, this Duane Allman thing, which is that image right there. Ah, there it is. Skydog. The Duane Allman Retrospective. So this one's really cool. Let me tell you a little bit about it here. This one also came out with an LP version. It's got a CD version as well. So there's 7 CDs in here. Stuff by the Allman Brothers. Duane Allman was in the Allman Brothers. He also played with Eric Clapton in Derek and the Dominoes. So there's some stuff from that in here as well. Duane was a session guitarist before the Allman Brothers came together. That was one of the other things he was doing. So he was in a couple of bands, but he also did a lot of session work. And if you know anything about the history of Southern rock, you know about Muscle Shoals Sound Studio down in Alabama, and he did a lot of session work there. And so he played with people like Aretha Franklin. He did something with Wilson Pickett where they did a version of the Beatles' Hey Jude that's really, really phenomenal. I know Beatles fans might think I'm being a little sacrilegious there, but it's true, it's really good. People like Boz Scaggs, Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. Let's see, who else here? Lulu, Willie Walker, Eric Quincy Tate. One of the other things I think is really cool that Duane did is he played on an album by Herbie Mann. Herbie Mann he was a jazz flautist or flutist, if you prefer not to get too weird with the terminology, but he played flute. And so he did an album called Push Push back in the late 60s, I'm pretty sure. And it's really cool. It's laid back, funky, groovy jazz with some really cool, wicked guitar lines in the background, courtesy of Duane. So that's really cool. So he did just a ton of stuff. This box set was produced by his daughter, Galadriel Allman, and producer Bill Levinson. And the other thing on the Derek and the Dominoes thing I wanted to mention is that Duane Allman, even though Eric Clapton's the guitarist in that band, Duane Allman actually came up with the riff for Layla, which was the biggest hit on that Derek and the Dominoes record that came out back in the 70s. So I'm going to bust out the stuff inside this one in a minute, because you're going to really go, ooh, ah, on that one. I need to check something first, though. Okay, so like I said, a couple of members passed away at some point. Dwayne, unfortunately, was one of them. He these days is still considered like one of the greatest, if not the greatest, slide guitar player ever. And we're talking about a guy who accidentally passed away on October 29th of 1971. It was in a motorcycle accident. He died, so that was really tragic for the band. I don't remember offhand, but they only had like 2 or 3 albums out at that point, maybe 4. I think the Live at the Fillmore East might have been the 4th one. I could be wrong, but my memory's getting a little shoddy because I just keep stuffing more and more stuff into it all the time, and things tend to fall out when you do that. But I'm going to show this one off to you here. This is going to be kind of... So you open it up, and immediately you can see it's got this nice gold felt lining in the lid. It's also down here in the box too, which you can kind of see over here, and see the whole box is covered with that stuff. So it's got a song list there. There's my little sticker. So you guys, when you buy CDs and they got them little stickers on it, do you keep those? I do. Maybe I'm a pack rat, or maybe I like to call it a completist. That's what I am. I'm a completist. Here's the booklet. Yeah, I guess I'll show you the booklet first. Yeah, what in the world? What in the world is this guy doing? It looks like some guy I know. Might be my papa, but I'm not really sure because he's on the screen. For those rest of you on the stream, my grandson took a look at the screen if you're watching the chat here. So Haley says sometimes she keeps him. Anna says that she don't think she ever has. It's one of those things, probably maybe not a lot of point to it, but like I said, I'm a completist. So anyway, here's the booklet for the Dwayne Allman box. So as you can see, just like the other one, pictures. And again, this one's pretty thick, so it's got, there's plenty of text, just like the other one. Lots of pictures. So there's a good picture of Dwayne Allman, just so you know who we're talking about here. That's what he looked like. And here's a good one of when he was playing guitar. There we go. Alright. So, and in fact, I'll just tell you how many pages in here. This one's got 72 pages. 72 pages. So it's got all that text, and then it goes into the disc, the contents of disc 1. It's got pictures for each one, track listing, personnel, bands, everything like that. So, and in fact, I mentioned the Wilson Pickett collaboration. There's Dwayne and Wilson Pickett, presumably at the session for Hey Jude by the Beatles. Again, check it out if you haven't heard it. So I'm just flipping and flipping here, and so like I said, track listings, credits, all that. This is an interesting kind of note that's famous. This is Dwayne's New Year's resolution in his diary here, and I just want to read it to you so you can kind of get an idea of the kind of dude he was. This is from January 1, 1969. This year I will be more thoughtful of my fellow man, exert more effort in each of my endeavors professionally as well as personally, take love wherever I find it, and offer it to everyone who will take it. In this coming year, I will seek knowledge from those wiser than me and try to teach those who wish to learn from me. I love being alive, and I will be the best man I possibly can. Dwayne Allman. So, and then there's the back of it. So, as you can see, and this is one of Dwayne's guitars there, the Gibson Les Paul. Of course, as we all know, and I could talk about Dwayne Allman all day, not necessarily because I have everything stored up here, but there's just so much to talk about for a dude that died tragically so young. And then here's an example of one of the CDs. The CDs in this one just come in these paper sleeves. So they've got the track listings on them and whatnot, and CDs inside. So you can kind of got his little signature there on each one. Oh, also it comes with a sticker, Skydog sticker, and a pick. It says Dwayne Allman Special on it. There. As I mentioned before, but just so you can see it again, there's a nice, what's that called, felt interior of the box with some little straps there to hold everything in, so I think that's really cool. This one, yeah, I bought it sealed on eBay as well, so there again I got lucky. And of course, I'm not the kind of guy who buys something to keep it sealed. I just hope somebody else in the world bought something that I want later on they're going to keep it sealed for me to find on eBay or Discogs someday. So Zane covered her face because she thought that I could see her. Boy, that'd be spooky, wouldn't it, if somebody on the screen could see what you were doing. But anyway, alright, so now it is time to move on to the radio nerd feature. So me being a big radio nerd, again, this thing down here in the corner, Dwayne Allman Dialogues. So what is that? Where'd you go? Alright. So, let me back up for just a second here and talk about the podcast. The podcast is called the Radio Nerd Podcast. Why the Radio Nerd? Well, I've been a radio nerd since I was a kid, and over the years I've collected literally thousands of radio shows. When I was a kid, I grew up out in the country, and there wasn't a whole lot for me to do other than run around in the sticks or watch TV or listen to the radio or otherwise do something constructive in the house. But since I really didn't have much of an idea anyway, when I was a kid of what I would do constructively, I just spent my time doing other things. And one of the things I did was listen to the radio a lot at night. That's how I discovered jazz. I would flip through stations and found KVNO, which at the time was playing both classical and jazz music. And there was also another station, KIOS, which did some NPR stuff and jazz. And nowadays KVNO is all classical. KIOS does all the jazz, and then per agreement the stations agreed to break it up like that to better identify themselves as well as be more identifiable to listeners in the Omaha area. And anyway, KVNO, KIOS, a couple of the stations, I used to listen late at night a lot, and there were radio programs. I remember one Saturday night I was listening to Z92, and around 11 o'clock I heard this intro come on for a new segment called Metal Shop, and it was basically just an hour or two of Z92's disc jockey playing heavy metal songs, because they were a rock station. There was some heavy metal mixed in there, but not all the time. So on Saturday nights that was a little block to give metalheads like a straight set of just nothing but metal. And that would have been, I think it was in '86, we'll say, and then probably 2 weeks after, I was like, oh, cool. So I would tune in on Saturday nights. Probably the third or fourth Saturday night I tuned in. All of a sudden, it changed. It was still heavy metal, but it was more produced. It was an actual show. I heard this metal shop. Like there was a whole produced intro to it and everything like that. And turns out there was this new program coming out of New York, syndicated out of New York, called Metal Shop. It was hosted by Charlie Kendall and put out by MJI Broadcasting, and C92 subscribed to that for a while and played those, and I recorded them on tape, and don't have any of those anymore. They kind of fell by the wayside, but I bought a few of the LPs on eBay, like I mentioned before you can do, and this is one of the other things I got. I actually got this one on Discogs, Duane Allman Dialogues. So this is this is a recording actually of some radio shows that Duane was on. So there are 4 segments on here, and 2 of them are from a show that he was on in 1970. He did an interview with Ed Shane, a DJ, on WPLO, and I think that was in New York. That was one of the other things I should have looked up before I got on here. And then the other 2 tracks, Ed Shane interviews Jerry Wexler, who is Executive Vice President for Atlantic Records, and the last segment is Ed Shane interviewing John Landau, who is a critic and New York bureau chief of Rolling Stone magazine. So they're all talking about the Allman Brothers and Duane Allman specifically, things like that. I want to... So they took those segments, put them together. Capricorn Records, as you can see right down here, there's their little logo. Capricorn as a promotional kind of thing. Got a hold of the interviews and put them together on this and sent it out as sort of a little promotional thing there. And this one's really cool because it's got interviews with Duane Allman on it, Duane Allman the guitarist. And just for fun, I'm going to play you a couple of short clips from that interview record. Let me check the comments real quick. Here we go. Okay. So I think here is the first clip.
This is Ed Shane with Duane Allman and the Allman Brothers. Great new album, Duane.
Thank you. We worked
Let me
pretty
know if
hard
that's
on it.
not coming across on the
Pretty good too.
stream.
What were you after going into the album?
It's live sound, like we sound live, when we play.
Okay, that was clip 1. Here's clip 2.
You like the idea that rock will sometimes talk about the times? Is that what
Sure,
you're saying?
man. Yeah, it's like a newspaper for people that can't read. It's they'll just rock and roll will tell you right where everything's at, man. It's just it's blues, but it's not like blues so much. It's like just something to move your feet, man, and move your heart and make you feel good inside. Forget about all the bullshit that's going on for a little while. Fill up some of the dead space. Especially here in Atlanta, I know there's plenty of dead space with the police department and stuff here and all the crap that goes down, man. A lot of that stuff's really a drag. That's why we live in Macon instead up here, though, because it's not near as full of perverted people.
All right, and here is clip 3. I just picked some of these things out of the interview just so you could kind of get an idea of how these things work and why I appreciate them so much. It's just interesting to me to listen to the musicians I love. Here we go, the final clip, clip 3 of Duane.
Since I didn't bring a guitar, if I did, I would share some music with you that I've written recently, but I don't. I forgot it because I'm not that together of a cat. So I'll share with you a song of our first album, and then a song of our second album, and then maybe a little something else later on.
Okay, so hopefully you found that engaging. I know I did. I listened to that more than once. If anybody else here is a radio nerd or like something about radio or even a podcast that you're interested in, I'd love to hear about it. Put it in the chat or email me. I'm going to put some links in here into the chat because I had planned on doing that before and I forgot. Alright, so that Linkin Park box set I mentioned, there's that one. There's no link for the Metallica one yet because that one, like I said, is just being worked on, so I don't even know if they have a website for it yet. But let's see. Oh, alright, so if you're interested in more information about the Allman Brothers Dreams box set, there's a link for you. If you are interested in more information about the Skydog box set, there you go. And if you are interested in more info about the Dwayne Allman Dialogues radio show, there you go. And as a matter of fact, just because I'm a nice guy, I am going to give you a link to a website that contains the Dwayne Allman Dialogues radio show, so that you can scope it out as soon as I find it here. Oh, well. Dead Space. Dead Space. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Or Dead Air, rather. Sorry about the dead air. But, you know, this is my first time, so we are going to get better at this as we go along. Here we go. Yeah, Linkin Park, you know, I think I have it's a double album, one of their albums. In fact, let me just go look for it real quick. Yeah. So I have Meteora. This is an enhanced CD, so it has the Art of Meteora website toolkit, exclusive access to web-based media, and the making of Meteora. So it's there's the two things that come with it. So there's actually a CD and then a bunch of, I don't know, it's like a booklet and a poster and everything in there, and then it's got, yeah, the making of, which is a DVD. So that's pretty cool, and that came out way back when. So if you're interested in borrowing that to check it out, you could, you know, or just, you know, buy your own, like you said you wanted to. Haley, that'd be cool. Alright, so I think that is it for today. If anybody has any feedback or suggestions for future programs, put it in the comments, or you can also email me. Let's see. I'll put my email address in the comments here. If you got radio stuff you want to talk about too, I have a separate address for that. Let me see if I can find the address. Actually, I should go to my live syn page and do it. Where are you? Okay, yeah, it's the Radio Nerd Podcast at gmail.com. So let me put that in the comments here as well. Radio stuff. And then, of course, like I said, if you want to see any other examples of any other work I'm doing, there you go. So, anyway, I think that's about it for today. So, next time, let's see, next time we're going to do Leonard Skinner. So, I'll have a bunch of stuff to show off there. I've got at least one box set. I have a special limited edition CD that they put out called Collectibles that I'll talk about. It's got some really rare stuff on there, and then I've got some other memorabilia to throw in there along with the box set and whatnot. So that is what we are going to do for next time, and at this point I'm going to say that next time is going to be next week at this same time. If you are curious and want to keep up on that in case I have to change the time, then just drop me an email, let me know you want to be included, and if the time changes, I will let you know. I'll do the scheduling thing here on YouTube as well, so that you know, if I don't have your email address or whatever, you can just come on the page and on the channel and find out when it's going to be. So you can also subscribe to my channel as well if you want on YouTube and get notifications that way. So that's another option. Alright, well, I don't have anything else, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. Thanks everybody for tuning in to Third Eye Heavy Collector's Corner number 1. Take care.